Hey there, survivors! I'm your host, Douglas here at Drumboy Productions, bringing you another Texas Chainsaw Massacre collecting video. In our last Texas Chainsaw Massacre collecting video, we took a look at the Pretty Woman Leatherface from the original 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That is a very cool mask, and we kind of took a look, I guess, if you want to count them as variants, two different variants, the original 2017 version and the newer 2023 version. The hair's different on both, paint's different on both, and with the subject of today's video, there are also some slight differences. However, I don't have one in person, and I've actually never really owned one of these masks before, at least not one of the Trick or Treat Studios versions. Because in today's video, we're talking about the 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre Leatherface Killing Mask. This is the main Leatherface mask used throughout the film. This is pretty much what most people think of whenever they think of Leatherface. It's definitely one of the most iconic looks. If there ever was a quintessential Leatherface look, this would pretty much be it. Many people also do love the Pretty Woman, myself included. I do personally prefer the Pretty Woman over this, but we're not here for a ranking video. We're here to talk about this mask in particular. So let's talk about the details of the mask itself, starting with the tag. Here we have the really cool painted poster style of Texas Chainsaw Massacre's artwork. And this one is featured, I believe, on every single version of the original 1974 line of masks. And of course, on the back of the tag, it says sculpted by Connor DeLess. Just like the Pretty Woman and the Grandma mask, this was also sculpted by Connor. I did not pick up the Grandma, so we won't be taking a look at that one, at least not immediately, but I had to get this one. But for those of you who possibly missed that last video, Connor DeLess is an extremely talented sculptor, and he has produced an absolute ton of amazing work for Trick or Treat Studios, and he did this entire line of Leatherface masks previous to Trick or Treat Studios obtaining the license, and then they just went ahead and worked with him to produce his masks. Connor's masks were considered to be pretty much the best Leatherface replicas at the time, and they definitely are fantastic. They definitely achieve that look, and his original versions are even better than the Trick or Treat Studios ones. Way better. Of course, when you have something that is handmade by an artist like that, where there's, like, for instance, all the stitches are actually hand stitched. The eyebrows are a lot better. The hair, I mean, probably pretty similar quality, maybe a bit better, like, hand styled, but as far as wig quality, pretty similar. Of course, it didn't have the mouth. It had an actual wire for this part of the mouth, and the leather lacing, of course, would be actual leather lacing on Connor's, just like it is on this one. I'll try to put in some photos of Connor's original so you guys can really appreciate the true sculpture that these are derived from, but the actual mass-produced versions are also very, very nice. In my opinion, they're probably the best killing masks that have been mass-produced, and because of how popular this look is, it has definitely been attempted many times by different mask companies, but I think Trick or Treat Studios definitely pulled it off the best. And we're going to go ahead and talk about some details of this actual mask. And since we've already talked about the tag, I guess let's go ahead and talk about the hair. You have a pretty nice full head of hair here. It's not quite as curly as the Pretty Woman hair, but it looks pretty accurate to the killing mask look. And then as far as the face itself, the eyebrows, in my opinion, they're not terrible, but they're not great. I know that eyebrows and facial hair of any kind on masks is pretty difficult to pull off and make it look good. These eyebrows are actually different from the original version as well. The original version was, I guess, pretty similar to the Pretty Woman, where they kind of laid down some hair on one end, put some glue under it, and just laid a strip of hair over it and snipped it on either end, whereas this is like a weird felt type material. I know a lot of fans prefer this look, and I mean, it looks a lot better in my opinion as well, but eyebrows are really difficult to do on masks. So let's talk about something else. How about something weird, like the wire? The wire in the mouth is one of the most notable features on Leatherface's original killing mask, and this is something we really don't see returned too much for any of his other masks, but it's definitely a very noticeable feature in this film on screen as well as on the actual prop. And of course, Trick or Treat Studios had to replicate that here. However, this version is just made out of plastic. It's a molded piece of plastic that is inserted into the mask, and it's actually backed with latex so it can't easily come out. However, if you do feel like upgrading your mask, you could remove it and put in some actual wire, but it's not really necessary. Something you might consider though is removing the mouth. This is something that varies from fan to fan, and I'm curious to find out where you lie and why. Some mask fans feel like having a molded in mouth like this makes it really goofy and cheapened, whereas you could just have it presented as the actual prop, the killing mask, as Leatherface would be wearing it in the film. But then there's some people that actually do prefer it to be in there, because of course if you're just a normal person wearing it underneath, you're not really going to look as frightening as this weird hillbilly with these really odd teeth. So, I mean, I'm very curious to see where you stand. For people that want it for just display purposes as the character, they seem to prefer it. For people that want it as a mask, like as the item itself, they seem to actually prefer to have the mouth cut out. Personally, I don't think the sculpture on the mouth is terrible, but the finishing on some of these doesn't look too great. So I personally would choose to go ahead and cut out that mouth and have it on display as the actual like skinned face prop of Leatherface. As far as the stitching, these are all sculpted and then painted. They don't look great, but they're not terrible. Of course, having it replaced with actual stitching would look much better. And then this feature in the middle of the head here that's kind of wired together and stitched together, it's not super detailed paint-wise, so you kind of lose a lot of the features, but if you actually did go in and touch up some of those spots, it would make it pop a little bit more. But overall, it doesn't look too terrible. The flesh tone color of it seems to be pretty accurate. There's nothing too crazy detail-wise, but there's not really that much to be seen on the original prop. And also, just like the Pretty Woman, you do have metal eyelets as well as leather lace on either side so that you can kind of draw it closed on your face. It's not really strapping, but it definitely does help it stay closed a little bit better on your face. Now let's talk about the actual screen-used version of the killing mask. All of the original Leatherface masks that were worn on screen were made by Robert Burns out of latex and fiberglass. I've heard some people say that they were actually made out of leather. I've heard some people say that they were just latex, but they were latex and fiberglass. And they are still kind of around today, though they're looking kind of like beef jerky. It's a shame that they weren't a bit better preserved because they are absolutely amazing pieces of horror history. It's like the original mask of the original mask maker himself, Leatherface, and definitely the face of a horror icon. And it actually still looks very creepy and almost kind of creepier. I almost forgot, but I always try to read the write-up from the Trick or Treat Studios website in these reviews as well, so let's go ahead and take a look. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1974 Leatherface Killing Mask for $59.99. Sculpted by Connor DeLess. This mask is based on the primary scene of Leatherface in the 1974 horror classic, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Every detail of Leatherface is captured in this amazing latex mask. So get yourself the official Leatherface 1974 Killing Mask, our Leatherface costume and sledgehammer, and stalk your neighborhood this Halloween night. So I guess not too much info to be gained there, but you guys already know what I'm going to say. For $59.99, I think this is a fantastic price. You have the rooted, stitched-in hair, a very great sculpture. You could do a little paint work on it if you wanted to, but honestly, I think the only thing that you really could do to this to make it better, and this is, yet again, up to you, would be to cut out the mouth. Personally, I think that would make the mask itself look better, but even as is, it is a very cool rendition of Leatherface. Connor DeLess's original versions of this go for hundreds. They are definitely worth it because they are also very fantastic pieces and you can tell the quality difference, but these, for a mass-produced price and that quality, is very, very good. We have seen, like I said, many different renditions of this mask before that, in my opinion, didn't really hit the nail on the head, but this one definitely hit the nail on the head with a sledgehammer. And with that being said, I think that pretty much covers it for today's video. I love you all. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. And I actually just got another shipment in of even more Trick or Treat Studios merchandise. So we have a lot more stuff to cover this season. So stay tuned. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video yet again. Love you all. Thank you for watching and see you next time.